At the last election in America, there was a predicted 54-point gender gap, I think it was, in the New York Times, where women were swinging overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris, whereas there was a slight swing among young men from the Democrats under Joe Biden and the unprecedented electoral circumstances that were brought by the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdowns to Donald Trump, a sort of slight movement to the right. And this is the same sort of pattern that we're seeing, for example, in Germany in the last election, where young men voted, I think it was 4 points more than the average for the AfD, whereas women voted 25 points more than the average for the Communist Party, Die Linke. That didn't materialize. Instead, what you got was a narrowing of Democrat support among young women, because it turns out when your sales pitch to young women is hate men, work for a soulless corporation all of your life, have an abortion at 9 months, and then support men breaking into your locker rooms, your sports, and your bathrooms, not a very convincing argument to the majority of young women and women on the whole who actually don't have pathological relationships with their fathers, their brothers, and the men they love in their lives, and would, quite like the young men returning to church, just like to have a family and have a fulfilling personal life. So I think by the virtue of the right being virtuous, also less ugly. I know it's a very superficial point, but have you seen the lineups from these Antifa protest arrests? It looks like Arkham Asylum has been opened. Loads of them has nose rings and hair that looks like they've dyed it with the pigmentation of a toxic frog in the rainforest. Loads of them are fat and miserable and on various forms of psychoactive medicine. That's not a very attractive life to lead, and the majority of well-adjusted people actually want to be high-achieving and attractive and happy and achieve eudaimonia, sort of harmony in their life. That's why I remember at the inauguration, there was a party I went to. A photograph got posted on the front cover of New York Magazine. There was a transgender writer who called this the Cruel Kids Club and basically insinuated, well, these were the attractive, popular kids who bullied me in high school, and now they're winning in elections. And it's like, yeah, I'd rather be a part of that group than a part of your group, a sort of a resentful person living on the margins trying to tear down civilization. I think that sales pitch is a lot more attractive, and I think that will actually win people over. However, we are still seeing large stated values gaps in the UK, in Europe, in South Korea as well, according to John Murdoch's piece in the Financial Times. And if this does continue, what you're going to see is downward pressure on birth rates, yet again, which itself manufactures consent usually for mass migration, because people are treated per the ideology of the blank slate that we mentioned as fungible, interchangeable economic units who can just be dragged and dropped anywhere like balancing numbers on a spreadsheet. And so if men and women don't couple up, don't have lasting marriages, don't have children that they raise to be grateful inheritors of our great civilization, then our civilization will disappear, either through demographic displacement driven by economic and demographic demand, or by a sort of quiet retreat into loneliness and surrogate activities like porn, social media, and video games.